You're sitting in seat 14A, window seat. You specifically requested it online at 2 a.m. while you were half asleep, eating leftover pizza, because you always get the window seat. It's one of those tiny, meaningless habits that makes you feel like you have some control over your life. The tray table is down. Your laptop is open. There's a half-finished quarterly report on the screen that your boss needs by Monday morning. You're not even looking at it. You're staring out the window at the clouds, thinking about absolutely nothing, which is honestly the most relaxing thing you've done in months. The flight attendant walks by and asks if you want anything. You say coffee, black. She smiles and moves on. The guy next to you is already asleep, his mouth hanging open like a broken mailbox. The kid 3 rows back is kicking your seat for the 14th time. Everything is perfectly, beautifully ordinary. You have no idea that in approximately 47 minutes, your definition of ordinary will be permanently deleted. The coffee arrives. It's too hot. You blow on it, burn your lip anyway, and go back to pretending to work. Outside, the clouds start looking different, thicker, the color of dirty concrete. The plane tilts slightly, and you grab your armrest out of reflex. Not panic, just reflex. The pilot's voice crackles over the intercom, calm and professional. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some light turbulence. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. You click yours in and take another sip of coffee. Then it happens. Not slowly, not dramatically like in the movies where the tension builds for 20 minutes. It happens fast. 1 second the plane is humming along like it always does. The next, there's a sound like a giant hammer hitting a metal wall, and the entire aircraft shudders like a wet dog shaking itself dry. The coffee flies sideways. The overhead compartments pop open. Someone screams. The kid stops kicking your seat. Everything tips hard to the left, and your stomach drops straight through the floor. The cabin lights flicker. Oxygen masks fall from above like sad yellow party decorations. You grab yours, yank it down, stretch it over your face the way you've seen in those safety videos you've never once actually paid attention to. The plane is nosediving now. Not a controlled descent. A nosedive. You can feel the difference in your bones. People are crying. Someone is praying loud enough to hear over the engines. Your laptop slides off the tray table and disappears. Your quarterly report is gone. Somehow that detail registers in your brain, which tells you your brain has officially given up on rational prioritization. You grip the armrest so hard your knuckles go white. You look out the window. Through the terror and the cloud and the chaos, you see it. Green. A dark, dense smear of green surrounded by endless blue. An island. You're going to hit the ocean right next to an island. Whether that's lucky or unlucky, you won't know for about 3 more minutes. The impact is not what you expected. You expected fire and metal and blackness. What you get is water. Cold, crushing, disorienting water. The plane hits the ocean at an angle and breaks apart on impact. 1 second you're in your seat. The next you're underwater, still buckled in, surrounded by bubbles and darkness, and the groan of metal tearing apart around you. Your survival instinct, which until this moment had been completely unemployed, suddenly shows up and punches you in the face. You unbuckle. You kick. You claw upward toward a lighter shade of dark. Your lungs are burning. Your ears are screaming. Something sharp slices your arm, but you don't feel it yet. You surface. You gasp. The air hits your lungs like the greatest thing that has ever happened to you. Around you, the ocean is covered in debris. Seat cushions, luggage, plastic cups, the wreckage of 200 seats worth of perfectly ordinary lives floating on the surface of the Pacific. You look around, you call out. Nothing. No voices answer back. Just the sound of the ocean and your own ragged breathing. The island is maybe 400 meters away. You can see the tree line, the pale strip of beach, the impossible green of jungle. You start swimming. You've never been a great swimmer. Your gym membership is mostly theoretical at this point, but adrenaline is an extraordinary coach, and terror is an even better personal trainer. You swim. You drag yourself onto the beach and collapse face first into the sand. You stay there for a long time, minutes, maybe longer. You're breathing. You're bleeding from your arm. You're alive. That's the entire extent of your situation report right now. You're alive on a beach on an island in the middle of the ocean with absolutely nothing except the soaking wet business clothes on your back, a cracked watch, and the slow, dawning comprehension that nobody is coming for you anytime soon. Let's talk about the first hour, because the first hour is when most people in your situation make their worst decisions. The shock is wearing off just enough to let panic fill the gap. Your brain is screaming at you to do something, anything, move, fix it, solve it. But here's the thing. Nobody tells you doing nothing for 10 minutes is sometimes the smartest survival decision you can make. You sit down, you breathe, you inventory what you have. What you have: dress shoes that are completely useless, soaking wet trousers, a button-down shirt, a belt, a cracked watch that still works, and one item you almost forgot about: a small pocket lighter in your right trouser pocket. You always carry a lighter even though you quit smoking 3 years ago. Force of habit. That lighter is currently the most valuable object on this island. You close your fingers around it and feel something that is not quite hope, but is standing right next to it. The sun tells you it's mid-afternoon. You have maybe 4 hours of daylight. You make a list in your head: water, shelter, fire, not in order of what you want most, but in order of what will kill you fastest without it. Water first. A human being can die of dehydration in 3 days. In tropical heat, even faster. You push yourself up off the sand and walk toward the tree line. The jungle hits you immediately. Dense, loud, and alive in a way that cities never are. Everything is dripping. The humidity is a physical thing, like breathing through a warm, wet towel. But the dripping is good. That means moisture. You find broad leaves cupped like natural bowls, holding rainwater from a recent shower. You drink from them without thinking twice about it, which your pre-island self would have found absolutely disgusting, and your current self finds transcendent. It tastes like the best thing you've ever put in your mouth. You find a thin stream about 60 meters into the jungle. Moving water. Cleaner than the leaf pools. You drink again, slowly this time, because somewhere in the back of your memory from a documentary you watched once, at 3 a.m. when you couldn't sleep, you remember that drinking too fast on an empty, panicked stomach is a bad idea. You cup your hands and drink in small, steady gulps. The stream is real. This island has fresh water. That is the first piece of genuinely good news you've had since Seat 14A. Shelter is next, and the sun is already getting lower and redder on the horizon. The beach is the wrong place to sleep. Open, exposed, and at night the temperature will drop faster than you expect. You need to get off the sand and into the tree line, but not deep enough to be completely lost. You find a natural alcove where 2 large trees have grown close together, their roots creating a raised platform above the ground. Perfect. Or at least the island's version of perfect, which is a very different standard than what you're used to. You spend an hour gathering large palm fronds, broad leaves, and branches. You lean the branches against the tree trunks at an angle, overlapping the leaves on top like roof tiles. You've never built anything in your life that didn't come with an instruction manual and a hex wrench, but Desperation is an incredible teacher. The shelter is ugly. It is lopsided and it leaks in 2 places, and it would get 1 star on any home improvement website. But it is yours, and it will keep the worst of the wind and rain off your body tonight. Now fire. The lighter is your greatest asset, but you understand instinctively that lighters run out of fuel. You need to use it smartly. You gather dry material first. Dead palm leaves crumbled fine. Dry grass from a sheltered patch near the tree roots. Thin, dry twigs no thicker than a pencil. You build a nest of the finest dry material in the center, then larger sticks around it in a pyramid shape, then bigger branches leaning around that. You've seen this on television. Bear Grylls has been living rent-free in your skull since 2008, and right now you are incredibly grateful for that. You flick the lighter. The flame catches the tinder nest on the 3rd try. A thin thread of smoke rises. You bend down low and blow slowly, steadily, the way you'd blow out birthday candles if the birthday candles were the most important candles in human history. The smoke thickens. An ember glows orange. Then a flame, small and fragile as a newborn thing, takes hold in the nest. You feed it a pinch more of dry material. Then a small twig, then another. The fire grows. You sit back on your heels and watch it burn, and something breaks open in your chest. Not crying, exactly. Something bigger and messier than crying. The fire means warmth. It means safety from whatever moves in the jungle at night. It means light. It means you are not entirely helpless. You feed it bigger sticks until it's burning solidly, and you think, for the first time since the plane hit the water, that you might actually survive this. Day 2 begins with the sound of birds so loud it's like waking up inside a car alarm. Your entire body hurts in ways you didn't know were topographically possible. Your dress shoes have rubbed 2 blisters on each heel. You take them off, tie the laces together, and hang them on a branch. For now, bare feet. The sand is soft enough, and the alternative is worse. Food becomes the priority. You haven't eaten since the airline's tiny bag of pretzels 17,000 feet above the Pacific, which feels like it happened in another lifetime. You think about what you know about island food. Coconuts. That's the obvious one. You find a coconut palm and spend 20 minutes trying to climb it before accepting that this is not happening in dress trousers with blistered feet. You find a fallen coconut instead, green and heavy. You spend another 15 minutes bashing it against a sharp rock until it cracks open. The water inside is slightly sweet and cool, and you drink every drop. The white flesh comes out in chunks with your fingers. You eat it. It tastes incredible. Over the next 2 days, you start to build a system. Morning. Check the stream, drink, refill your improvised water container, a large curved piece of debris you found washed ashore, something that was once part of a seat shell. Midday. Find food. Coconuts, green bananas from a small cluster you discovered on day 3, small crabs that emerge from the rocks at low tide and which you cook on flat stones over the fire, because eating raw crab is a line you're not ready to cross yet. Evening. Reinforce the shelter, build up the fire, think. The thinking is both the most important thing and the most dangerous thing. When you're busy, you're fine. The moment you stop moving and the silence settles in, your brain hands you a full inventory of everything you've lost. Your phone, your wallet, your contacts, your life, your schedule, your colleagues who are probably filing reports right now, your apartment with its reliable hot water and its reliable coffee machine and its ordinary spectacular comfort. You allow yourself exactly 10 minutes of that every evening, and then you shut it down. Grief is a luxury. Survival is a job. You treat it like one. By day 5, you've made several significant upgrades to your operation. The shelter has a second layer of leaves on the roof and no longer leaks. You've woven a rough mat from palm fronds that keeps you off the bare ground at night. You've fashioned a sharp tool from a piece of aircraft debris, a jagged edge of aluminum that, wrapped at one end in strips torn from your shirt, functions as a crude but effective knife. You use it to open coconuts cleanly, to cut vines, to skin the small fish you've started catching in the shallows with a spear made from a straightened and sharpened branch. The fish spearing takes 3 days to even come close to working, and another 2 days to actually work. The first successful catch, a small silver fish that barely fills your palm, you hold up to the sky like a trophy at the Olympics. You are not embarrassed about this. There is nobody here to see it anyway. Your body is changing. You are leaner and darker, and your hands are a landscape of cuts and calluses that your old hands would not recognize. You sleep deeply and wake with the sun. You think less about spreadsheets and conference calls, and more about tides and wind direction and the behavior of clouds. The island is teaching you its language slowly, and you are a surprisingly good student when your life depends on the grade. On day 7, you climb to the highest point of the island, a rocky outcrop above the tree line that gives you a 360-degree view of the ocean. What you see both encourages and terrifies you. The island is small, maybe 3 kilometers end to end. To the north, the open ocean stretches to nothing. To the south, maybe 40 kilometers away, the faint hazy suggestion of something larger on the horizon. Another island, a coast. You can't be sure, but it's there. You also see, on day 8, a plane. Far away, high up, just a silver glint and a white contrail stitching across the blue. It's gone in minutes, but it passed roughly north to south along what might be a flight corridor. The planes are up there. The world is up there. You are down here. The distance between those two facts is the entire problem. This is when your brain, which has been operating in pure survival mode, finally switches gears into escape mode. And the first thing escape mode requires is being seen. You cannot swim 40 kilometers to that haze on the horizon, but you can make yourself impossible to miss from the air. You start with the beach. You spend an entire day arranging debris, rocks, and palm branches into 3 giant letters on the sand. SOS. Each letter is 4 meters tall. You know it's a cliche. You know every castaway in every movie does this. You also know it works because it was designed to work. And right now you are not too proud for cliche. Then the fire. You've maintained a base fire for 9 days now, but a cooking fire is not a signal fire. A signal fire needs to be visible from the air, which means it needs smoke. Dense, dark smoke. You learn that green leaves and wet wood create white smoke. Rubber, plastic, and dark materials create black smoke. Black smoke against a blue sky is more visible. You collect every piece of dark debris from the crash site. Rubber seals, dark foam, synthetic fabric, and you keep it in a pile next to the fire. Your signal fire is ready to go at a moment's notice. Every time you hear anything in the distance, you throw a handful of dark material on the flames and watch the black column rise. On day 11, you build a raft. Or, rather, you attempt to build a raft, which is a different thing entirely. You lash together several large pieces of debris with vines, testing the knots the way you've been practicing for a week. The raft floats. It is unstable, and it drifts sideways immediately in any current, but it floats. You think about that distant haze on the horizon. You think about 40 kilometers of open ocean on a vine-lashed raft with no navigation. You look at the raft for a long time. Then you pull it up the beach above the tide line and leave it there as a backup plan, which is a polite way of saying the plan you will only use if you are completely out of other options. The mirror is day 13's idea. Plain debris includes shiny metal surfaces, polished aluminum, scratched and dented, but still reflective. You find a piece the size of a dinner plate. You practice angling it in sunlight, catching the beam and directing it. The flash of reflected sunlight can be seen for miles under the right conditions. Another thing you once read somewhere and forgot until now, when forgetting is not an option. You set a routine. Dawn, signal fire check. Midday, mirror flashing practice. Scan the sky, scan the horizon. Afternoon, maintenance, food, water. Evening, keep the fire burning. You do this every single day with the discipline of someone whose life depends on discipline, because it does. Day 17. You are standing at the water's edge at dawn, doing your morning scan of the horizon when you see it. Not a plane, a boat, small, maybe a fishing vessel, visible for just a moment through the morning haze before it seems to change direction. It's maybe 8 kilometers out. Your heart detonates in your chest. You sprint to the signal fire and throw everything on it. Every piece of dark rubber, every scrap of synthetic material, your last reserves of smoke fuel. The column of black smoke rises thick and fast into the clear morning air. Then you grab your mirror. You find the angle. You catch the sun. You flash it in the direction of the boat over and over and over, methodical and frantic at the same time. You are screaming across the beach. You are waving both arms. You know the boat is too far to hear you. You don't stop screaming anyway. The boat keeps moving. For 10 agonizing minutes, it appears to be moving away. Then it stops, sits. Then, almost impossibly, it turns. It turns and it is coming towards you, and you are on your knees in the sand, and your whole body is shaking so hard you can barely hold the mirror. The boat is a small commercial fishing vessel. When it gets close enough, a man leans over the railing and stares at you with an expression that you will never forget for the rest of your life. Pure disbelief. He shouts something in a language you don't understand. You shout back in English. You shout that you are the survivor of a plane crash. You shout that you have been on this island for 17 days. You shout things that don't make sense in any language. The man talks rapidly into a radio, and another man comes to the railing, and they both stare at you. And then someone throws a rope over the side. You grab it. The next 48 hours happen in a blur of heat and noise and human voices and the smell of cooked food and clean water from a tap that you stand at for 4 minutes, just turning it on and off. The fishing boat radios the Coast Guard of a nearby island. A helicopter arrives. You are airlifted to a hospital on a small island community where nurses in white uniforms take your vital signs and clean your wounds and give you food and then more food and ask you questions in careful, accented English that you answer in a voice that keeps breaking. You have lost 11 kilograms. You have a healing cut on your arm that got mildly infected and then healed on its own. You have a vitamin deficiency and dehydration and the kind of deep exhaustion that doesn't come from one bad night's sleep, but from 17 days of never fully letting your guard down. The doctor tells you that given everything, you are in remarkable condition. You nod and eat your fourth meal in 6 hours and don't say anything. The phone call home is something you are not ready to describe to anyone for a long time. Your family had been told there were no survivors. There was a memorial. Your name was already in the news. When you call, there is a silence on the other end of the line that lasts 4 full seconds before it breaks open into something that is not a sound exactly, but a feeling transmitted through a phone connection across thousands of miles of ocean. 2 weeks later, you are standing in front of a wall of cameras and microphones in an airport arrivals hall. You are thinner than the person in the photographs on every screen behind you. You are wearing new clothes that don't quite fit. Your hands are still rough and calloused, and there are small scars on them that will not fully fade for months. A journalist in the front row asks you the obvious question, the question everyone asks. What kept you going? You think about it for a moment. Not performing thinking, actually thinking. You think about the fire on the first night, that small, fragile flame in the tinder nest, and how you felt when it caught. You think about the fish you speared on day 7 and held up to the sky like a trophy. You think about the mirror flashing in the morning sun, the boat turning, the rope coming over the railing. Routine, you say. Every morning I woke up and I had a job to do. I didn't think about rescue. I didn't think about home. I thought about the next task. Water, food, fire, signal. One thing at a time. When you break an impossible situation into small jobs, it stops being impossible. It just becomes work. The journalist scribbles something. Someone in the back calls your name. Cameras flash. You squint into the lights. You think about seat 14A, the window seat, the half-finished quarterly report, the coffee that burned your lip, the beautiful, boring, unthinkable luxury of ordinary life. You think, I am going to appreciate every single second of it. And for once in your life, you actually mean it.